I will not waste your time. I will go straight to the point. And so the trick that I literally stole from Bryan Johnson, the most measured man alive, is to have different identities for different situations. So have you ever been in a situation where you didn't act exactly as you would have wanted to, where you actually wanted to act in a specific way, but you ended up acting in a suboptimal way and you afterwards regretted that? Or you were in a specific situation and had thoughts that were not fitting the way that you actually wanted to think? When I wanted to go to sleep and I started thinking about a specific thing that happened during the day, and so I couldn't go to sleep. Or my friends asked me to do something with them and I would have wanted to do that thing, but I had something else that I actually wanted to do, and so I felt that inner pain. I felt that inner discomfort to telling them no, because they might think that I don't want to do that thing with them, even though I actually want it, but I had something else to do. And so I ended up going with them and regretting it because I felt the whole time that I wanted to be doing that other thing. Or I see a person passing and I start judging that person based on her appearance. And there are many, many more situations, believe me, where I acted in a way or I had thoughts that I didn't actually wanted to have. Basically, I was not the way that I really wanted to be, and every single time I regretted it. Every single time I had that inner pain, that inner discomfort, I felt that I was not being true to myself. That was not the person that I really wanted to be. And here is where Bryan Johnson's trick actually comes into play, to have different identities for different situations. And the trick is to create the right identities and then step into them in the right situation so that you act exactly as you want to. And it will work for you because, very simply, we will create together those identities. We will define them together in just a second. And so they will be adapted to your personal needs. And now you may ask yourself, yeah, okay, great, but which identities do I actually need? And to respond to that question, we first have to ask ourselves some other simple questions. So the first one is, what are the goals that you actually want to achieve? We have to define the goals that we actually want to achieve, because as I've talked about in another video, we don't achieve goals, we achieve characters. But first we have to understand what we want to achieve in order to then ask ourselves the second question, which is, who do I need to become in order to make that goal inevitable? And then when you know who would you need to become, the ideal identity, to bridge that gap and to actually become that person, you have to ask yourself the third question, which is, what would need to be true for me to become that person? So there are actually two ways in which you can do it. You could do it like Bryan Johnson does it and have many different identities, one for each specific situation, like your entrepreneur self, yourself when you do physical activity, when you do the evening routine, your ideal self as a friend, your ideal self as a boyfriend, and so on. And then there is another way, the way that I've personally adopted, which is to have only two identities: the suboptimal one, the one that I don't want to be like, and the ideal one, which has all the other identities all packed together. So I can really focus on being that way. I think that you can try out both of them. I just wanted to include Bryan Johnson's one because it may be better for you, or maybe you like more the one that I use, but it doesn't really matter. It's all about defining the goals that you want to achieve, understanding who can achieve those goals, and then understanding what would need to be true in order to become that person. Done. Now you may ask yourself, yeah, now I know how I want to be, but how do I act like it? And here there are a few tricks that I want to share with you. The first one that helps me a lot is to be as present and detached from myself as possible. Because think about it, imagine that you're so attached to your present identity. What do you do if something happens to you? You will be clinging on it. You will certainly not start thinking that there is that other identity that I've defined that is better for this situation, so I switch identity. Do you understand what I mean? If you're too attached to the present identity, then it will not work. So what I personally did was to start feeling like an observer. I'm no more Andrea Poneri, I'm the observer. And every thought is not my thought. It's a thought that comes to my mind. And I observe it kind of like third person. That enables me to actually stop with detachment and ask myself, is this really the best thing? What would that ideal actually do? What would he think and how would he feel? Then when you have the answer, just ruthlessly be that way, because you know that you want to be that way. Sometimes it will be hard, sometimes people will look bad at you, but if you know that that is the way that you actually want to be, then who cares? Then be yourself, bro. You have totally the right to be yourself. The other great trick that I've seen that works like magic is to not see those ideal identities, or that ideal identity that you have created, depending on the model that you have chosen, is not to see them as a goal. I want to be that way. No, that's your standard, bro. That's how you are. That cannot be questioned. That cannot be changed. That is the worst thing that you can accept. Nothing underneath it is acceptable for you. You see how that changes things? And so you become more and more and more just like that. And when you can no more see a difference between yourself right now and your ideal self, then my friend, you will have become your ideal self. And here I want to finish with a quote from Bruce Lee. And he said that we should be fluid, we should be formless, shapeless, just like water. And I think that with that quote he meant that we should be able to change our identities, that we should be able to change based on our goals. You're not attached to an identity, you're fluid, you change and become the ideal self so that you can actually achieve your goals. Amazing. And if this video actually helped you on the way towards becoming the best version of yourself, then subscribe, because my mission is to become that best version of myself and to help you out towards becoming the best version of yourself. And so if that sounds interesting, subscribe. And by the way, remember the most important thing. We could die today. So why not living like it, bro? Why not being who we want to be? Doing what we really want to do, and most importantly, feeling every single moment to 100%. I wish you all the best and see you in the next video.